Christmas, you filthy animal, and a Happy New Year.
Sound check. Are we good to go, sir? Yes, sir. Good morning. Yes, technical team, we can start now. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas greetings to everyone. Good morning. Mayad nga aga, greetings from Antique. Maayong aga, greetings from Iloilo. Welcome to the second day and the third topic of the National Work Conference for the 21st Century Researchers and Educators. We have an invited resource speaker coming from Bohol Island State University to be introduced later. Good morning to our dear speaker. Good morning also to our dear colleagues and friends in education and research practice. Before we start with the program, please allow me to tell you first to present to you the house rules for this morning. We are requesting everyone to please open your camera as the lecture is going on. Second, always mute your microphone. Third, use headphones and earphones. Four, find a seat or location that is comfortable and well lighted. Fifth, it is advised to wear business or smart casual attire. Fifth, finish the whole web conference and complete the evaluation form for you to get your e-certificate. And seventh, always direct your concern through personal message on our page or in slido.com, provided code or our email address so we can provide you the answer for your concern. Thank you very much. Once again, good morning. Before we start with the program this morning, let us focus ourselves first for the presence and divine providence of our Lord Almighty. Please bow our heads and feel the presence of our Lord. Lord Jesus Christ, our heavenly and most powerful Father in heaven, we thank you, O Lord, for this great weather you have given for us to conduct this educational web conference wherein our friends in education and research practice are gathered here today to learn valuable inputs from our invited speaker. May, Lord, you always keep us safe and with the blessings that we enjoy, Lord, in our table together with our families. Please always, Lord, keep us safe against the threat of the COVID-19 pandemic. We thank you, O Lord, for all the blessings, especially the blessing of life that you have given us. This is all we, Lord, we pray in Jesus Christ, your only begotten Son, our personal Lord and Savior. Amen. Good morning once again. It is my honor to introduce to you our invited speaker for this morning. Our resource speaker this morning is a teaching fellow, a professor at the Bohol Island State University in Bilar, Bohol, Philippines. She finished her Bachelor in Secondary Education, major in Mathematics at Bohol Island State University in Tagbilaran City Campus in April 2008, and her Master of Science in Mathematics on March 11 at Bohol Island State University, also in the same campus, and her PhD in Statistics, excuse me, at the University of the Philippines, Diliman in June 2017. She has been a lecturer at the Masterat classes at the Bohol Island State University, and at present an assistant professor, a university statistician, and a faculty regent. She has been very familiar with the SPSS, with the R programming, and very skillful in sampling through experience and provincial and regional surveys and the election surveys. She has been a statistician, a trainer of the winning teams in mathematics competitions, a judge in different IT congresses, a trainer in IBM SPSS utilization training, a presenter of the various researches in statistics, trainer, and guest paper presenter in different congresses, both local and international. He has published different publications in exploratory and confirmatory factor analysis of the career change scale, implementation of the assurance management system for critical asset predictors of global industry performance, determinants of career change of overseas Filipino professionals in the Middle East, strategic management system for competitive business performance in the United Arab Emirates, and determinants of service trainers skills at selected training centers, Eastern Province of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. At present, she is conducting researches in switching meta-regression in high-dimensional data and metacognitive approach in teaching. Her interests focus on computational statistics, multivariate statistics, regression analysis, machine learning, educational research, and sampling. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor, on behalf of the Philippine Institute of 21st Century Researchers and Educators, to present to you our resource person this morning to talk with us the statistical data handling, data management, and data analysis. Please welcome Dr. Ivy Corazon A. Mangayaay. Dr. Ivy.
Good morning. Thank you, Cyril, for that wonderful and generous introduction of me. But may I know if you can hear the sound in my background? Can you?
Yes, Doc. We can hear that.
You mean you can hear me, or you can hear the background noise background?
Yes, Doc. Also the noise at your background.
Okay, so yeah. How about this? Can you hear me? And of me alone and not the background, the noise background?
It's better now, Doc. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good morning once again. This morning, when the organizer contacted me to do a training on data management and then data analysis, and then I'm thinking it also what to share to you this morning, given that we only have 2 hours. So this morning, siguro I have mentioned, teka lang ha. I have to ask my baby to go inside the room because I think you can hear her voice. Excuse me for a while. Okay, let me continue. My apologies for that. I thought this headset has noise canceling feature. Okay, let me continue. So this morning I will be sharing to you how to manage data. For example, if we do have that questionnaire and then we already have the data, how are we going to code and decode it? How are we going to structure the data in such a way that statistical software like SPSS is fit for that? I mean, the structure of the data is fit for our software. And then let us try doing data analysis in SPSS, specifically the regression, because I think one of the speakers already have shared to you, because I look at the drop down list of the topics that were discussed. I have seen their parametric and non-parametric tests. So I was hoping that the tests like the t-test, Mann-Whitney test, like that, were already discussed. So I will be focusing on the multiple regression, because I think we as researchers, we also need to explore multivariate analysis. So when we say multivariate analysis, it is an analysis with, of course, from the word multivariate, with 2 or more variables. So I just speak multiple regression. So let me share my PowerPoint first. So again, I will be discussing on data management in SPSS. I will just charge my laptop first. Okay. And then again, we'll be also discussing multiple regression. our objectives, as I have mentioned a while ago, we have to structure data in Excel tailored for data analysis in SPSS, because I have observed that most of the training really would focus on analyzing data using a software and interpret it. But actually, I found that the students have a difficulty in starting. If we have this data in for example, in a Google form and in a questionnaire, how are we going to code and decode it in Excel so that it can be exported in a software in such a way that a multiple regression would run if we have this data structure, or the dependent sample t-test would run if we have this data structure. Okay, and then in my previous speakership with this organization, with PICEI, I've already discussed this one, but I want to review. I hope you have attended the last the last session I had with you, because this is very important. But before that, I will be starting first with the data management from the raw questionnaire, and then to Excel, and then to SPSS. So and then I will also be discussing some situations in which regression can be applied, and then I will also be discussing the assumptions. And then I have an illustrative example this morning. I got this data from, this is a data available online, and in which we don't have problem with data privacy. We can play with this. And then, so that's it. And if you still have time, I will let you try on your own, so that it will be if you still have time, so it will be a workshop and not just webinar, but more of a, I want, maybe I'll let someone show their Excel, or maybe they have questionnaires or data already that we can run in this. I mean data that has no problem with data privacy. Okay, so let me start with, I want to show you sample questionnaire, and then let's try how are we going to manage it in Excel. Okay. Then, because I have observed that students have a difficulty. For example, we have this questionnaire. How are we going to lay out this one in Excel? I will share to you some tricks so that it would be easier to export this one in SPSS. Okay. I hope you are going to. I hope you do have two screens, so that you will be listening to me at the same time perform this one in Excel. Okay. Will be okay. Usually, I am going to lay out this one in Excel in such a way that I have two screens. So I have two separate screens here. I will just click. I will just press window and then the arrow right and arrow left. Okay, the first tip that I am going to share to you is that the first row should be the short description of the variable, or shall we say acronym. Okay, so the first row should be the short description of the variable or the acronym. Okay, say for instance, the first variable here that we can see is questionnaire number. So say this is QN. And then in the second row, it should be the longer description of the variable. And soon, later, you will realize why do we need to do this? Because everything else, when it is structured this way, it would be easier for us to run the SPSS later. And then again, the second row should be the longer description of the variable. You just have to, by the way, I have to share this file with you, right? Because you still don't have it. Okay, I will share it in the chat box so that you can also perform if you want together with me. Cyril, kindly facilitate. I will be sharing this one in the chat box. Serial data management, and then okay. Have you seen the file already? Not yet.
Not yet, Doc.
Okay, I will be sharing it to your FB because I think it is not successful in the chat box. Cyril, I will be sharing it to you in FB Messenger.
Yes, Doc. Sure,
Okay.
sure.
For a while, please. Okay, I have sent it already. Cyril, have you seen it?
Yes, Doc. In a while, please, I will share it again.
Okay, sige. Let me continue. Okay, the first row again would be the short description of the variable. Say this is mon, and this is barangay. And then in the second column, it should be the longer description. So this is questionnaire number. You just have to copy, Control C, and then paste. You may wrap text so that it would be easier for you to view. Okay, and then next is municipality. Just have to copy and paste, and then barangay, paste. Okay, say for example, we want to include also sex here. And then say age. And then marital status. Sorry. Okay. I hope you followed. Okay. Okay. So again, the first row should be the shorter description of your variable, and the second row should be the longer description of the variable. The next step, the next tip that I am going to share to you is For single responses, there should be one column for variable per variable. Say for instance, sex is a single response. What is meant by single response? We are expecting from our respondents that there will only be one answer or single answer, like sex, because we are referring here the biological sex. So that's why we put one column for age, because there is it's a single response, and there shall be one column for that one variable. And so with marital status and also with education of the respondent, or highest educational attainment or education of the respondent. Okay. And the next tip that I am going to share to you is that the multiple response, for multiple response question, there should be one column per option. Again, for single response, one column per variable. But for multiple response, there has to be one column per option. Okay, I will pick, say for instance, the name of say for instance lang, the name of organization, like this one, they can pick 3 types of organizations. So per column, there has to be, per option, one column. There must be one column per option, like one for community. So say for example, type of organization 1, say community or civic, for instance, community or civic. So as you can see here, in our longer description, that is one option. Okay, but it would be easier for you in later when you are going to identify the variable in your SPSS. You also have to type TO1 before the longer description. Okay, and then say TO2, like water association. Let's just pick 3 of them, no? And then they can answer 2. Say for instance, hypothetically. And then TO3. And then say farmers association. Okay, I want also to share with you how to encode, decode, and lay out your data when it's a Likert type of questionnaire. So when it's a Likert type of questionnaire, say for instance this one, read the items, do not read, say this is a Likert type of questionnaire, wherein the respondents are expected to answer either strongly agree, neither agree, disagree, strongly agree, and not applicable. Here, this is a single response, but we need a response per item in the manifest variable, for instance. So here, as a tip, say this is level of satisfaction. Your code should be LS1. And then in the longer description, it should be the question. Okay. And still, we have to put LS1 here. LS1. And then let's have LS2, and then the toilet is hygienic. And then let's just wrap this one later. Then LS3, let's have cost of electricity is reasonable. Okay. Okay, this is how our data structure looks like. And then it is easier for you to read. You may wrap the text. Right. Then it's okay if you are going to do this so that it is readable. But as you can observe, one cell, one information. Here's another tip. When you are planning to use SPSS, do not merge cells here, because the SPSS would read one information per cell. So if you are going to merge it, SPSS will have a hard time reading your data once it will be imported. Once the Excel file will be imported once the SPSS file will import the Excel data. Okay, I will read. Okay, I hope you have accessed already the file that was given to you. Have you accessed it already? My dear participants, have you accessed it already? Can you hear me?
Yes, Doc, we can hear you. The file is already on the chat box, Doc.
Okay.
Google Drive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cyril. I will wait for everyone to have their Excel file look like this, so that we will be exporting this data, or we will be importing it from Excel to SPSS. So the SPSS will import the data, Excel data will be exported to SPSS. Okay, may I know if we are on the same page? I would like to repeat. The first row shall be the shorter description of your variable. The second row would be the longer description of your variable. And then another tip, for single response, there has to be one column per variable. And for multiple response item, there should be one column per option. And for Likert type test of items or questionnaire, one manifest variable or one item per variable here, and then the domain or the description of the domain, diba? When we have this Likert type of questionnaire, we are trying to measure abstract things, and then the items there are manifest variables. So as you have observed, it is subsection according to domains, like level of satisfaction. And then we have, for example, 10 manifest variables or 10 items, 10 questions for level of satisfaction. So if it's a level of satisfaction question, for instance, we have to label it as LS1, LS2, LS3. Well, these are user-specified terms, but I'd rather have a shorter description of our variable relatable to the actual variable like LS3 so that I can easily associate it with this is the third question of the level of satisfaction. Okay. And the next thing that you are going to do is on the second row, I mean second sheet, this is your code sheet or code, para siyang code book in which all the categorical data here will be coded. Okay, at this point in time, I am going to discuss again what is meant by categorical data. Okay, as what I've discussed in my previous engagement with PIC, EI, there are two types of data, quantitative and qualitative. The qualitative, another term for that is categorical. And under categorical is what we call nominal and ordinal. Okay, so if it's a nominal and ordinal data, we have to code it. But if it's either interval and ratio, we don't have to code it because it's not categorical. There are no categories. Therefore, we don't assign number to it because we will be utilizing the actual value of the data. Okay, because there are, again, I've discussed this already previously, but I want to refresh the participants. There are four levels of measurement. Thus, the first level of measurement is nominal, in which we just assign numbers to ID the categories, and there is no hierarchy. The classical example for that is sex, because, for example, we assign 0 to male and 1 to female, just to ID the categories. But it doesn't mean that female has 1, female is better than male. So that's nominal. But when you say ordinal variable, still in the categorical data, the hierarchy is there, but we don't know the precise difference, like first, second, and third, or small, medium, or large. We just know that medium is larger than small, but we don't know the precise difference. But for interval level of measurement, the hierarchy is there and the precise difference is there. However, 0 does not mean nothing. The classical example of that is the temperature. We just know that the 49 degrees Celsius is bigger, or is not bigger, but hotter than 48 degrees Celsius by 1 degree Celsius. So there, the hierarchy is there, the precise difference is there, but 0 doesn't mean nothing, because 0 degrees Celsius means it's the freezing point, and it still there is a temperature. Now the highest level of measurement is the ratio level of measurement, because the hierarchy is there, the precise difference is there, and 0 really means nothing. And I have discussed this already, that the highest, the classical example for that is the weight, because if we say 0 kilogram, non-existence, there is non-existence, because if we say again it's 0 kilogram, there is no such thing that exists with 0 kilogram. It means nothing. Okay, so that's the difference. Now, because SPSS would run if we have numerical data, because it's a statistical software, it will really run, most of the analysis, or all of the analysis in SPSS would necessitate a numerical data, or except for frequency. So maybe if it's a frequency, then string data would be considered. So, but the frequency will just stay 1, 1, 1. But most of the analysis in the analyzed menu, like the t-test, the Pearson, the correlation, it will necessitate you to have a numerical data. That's why for categorical data, even if it's a qualitative data, like male and female, we need to code them with numbers. That's why here, this is an example of I made this questionnaire for one of my projects. Now, I cannot disclose. I also have edited the items here in such a way that there are no traces that it comes from the project where I am commissioned of as the one who will craft the questionnaire and as a statistician. But me as a statistician and at the same time planning the project, as you can see, I have structured my questionnaire in such a way that I already put codes here. The respondents has to encircle the code in the left because when I will be giving this one to the data encoders, it will not be hard for them to encode the data because I already assigned numbers to it. And aside from that, I will put this one in the Excel, in the second sheet, the code. Assign code for categorical data. And if you are planning for a regression analysis, for binary data, when you say binary data, there are two possible responses. It's better that you code it 0, 1. Okay? So for instance, I have this hypothetical municipality. I just choose 2 municipalities from Bohol, like Albuquerque and Antequera. So if it's Albuquerque, the code is 1, and if it's Antequera, the code is 2. And for barangay, I just pick 5 barangays from each municipality, and these are the codes. And for marital status, you may continue like single 1, married 2, 2, and then widowed 3, and then separated 4. Okay, and then the next code would be Likert scale says strongly agree level of satisfaction. Sorry, put this here up. Okay, say level of satisfaction. Sorry. Levels of agreement na lang guys, agree. And then strongly agree 1, and then agree, no, 5, this is 5, agree, neither agree nor disagree, 3, agree 4, and then disagree is 2, strongly disagree is 1. Okay, now for example, we are now here. I will transfer here another sheet so I can delete this tip. Okay. Now, for example, the questionnaire number, say we have 3 respondents, hypothetical note. The first respondent, second respondent, third respondent. It is very important to ID your questionnaire number or respondent or your questionnaire. I mean, it's because when there are typological errors or there are data after the analysis, for instance, in multiple regression, and there is an outlier, and one of the assumptions is that it shouldn't have an outlier. So once you have observed that your data has an outlier, you will not immediately delete it, because you still have to check it whether it's a typological error. You have to check whether the data is miscoded. That's why you cannot go back to the questionnaire, or you cannot match the questionnaire if you don't have the questionnaire number. That's why this column is very important. Okay, say the first respondent says he is from Albuquerque. Okay, this is the code, right? This is the coding. So Albuquerque is 1. Say, for instance, the first respondent says he is from Albuquerque, the second also, but the third respondent says he is from Antequera. Say, hypothetically, they are from Barangay 1, 2, and this one is from Barangay 5. So basically, the first respondent is from Albuquerque, residing at Barangay Bahi. Okay, and then for sex, the first respondent say she is a female, and then a male. And for their age, we want, because age is not a categorical data, because we asked for their actual age. That's why, for instance, we put here 45. We don't code age because that's not a categorical data. Say, hypothetically, she is aged 23, and this is 19, for instance. Marital status, say single, married, and single. Education, let's see the code. We have not coded the education yet, but if you have to put it in the code, but say the code is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, elementary level, elementary graduate, and then college graduate. For instance, we want them to specify the course, like for example, this one, the sixth one. How do we encode it in our data file? So after educational attainment, then we can have another column for like course here, or specification of course, or just merely course. Okay, say for instance, this is elementary level, and then next would be 3 high school graduate, hypothetically. And then the next one is a college graduate. So if this is 6, we are expecting an answer here in this column, in the course column. Say he is a graduate. Oh no, it's 19, no? So let's just change it to 33, because he is already a graduate of Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering, for instance. Okay, now for TO1, this is community. This is an example when it's a multiple response, diba? They will take like out of the 10, say 10 organizations, they are going to check or click or tick 2. Say this is 3 now, 3 organizations. For example, they have to tick 2 out of the 3. So when it is that type of questionnaire, so it is considered a binary data, yes or no. Okay, we will be expecting here a code of 0 and 1. 1 if the respondent ticks, and 0 if not. For example, this is 1, and this is 0. And then say this is 0, 1, 1, and this is, say for instance, this is 0 and 1, 1. 2 out of 3. You have to say, for example, they are asked to take 2 out of the 3 organizations that they belong. Okay. In this part, this is now the Likert type of questionnaire. The respondents are expected to give only one answer. Say this is 5, this is 4, this is 3, and say this is 1, 1, 1. And then 1, 1, 1. Okay. Are you with me? May I see? Okay. Now, as you can see in our data structure, again, the first row is the shorter description of our variable. And then the second row is the longer description of the variable. And then these are our data. Okay. Now, the next thing that we are going to do will give you an SPSS file with string data. This is not yet correct, but I will show you what will happen if we are going to export our data when we have not yet deleted the row 2. Okay, sige. Are you ready with your SPSS? Okay, let's import the Excel file. I have to transfer here. So be sure that this Excel file, it is in sheet 1. Say I will rename it to data 2. Remember that our file is in data 2. Okay, now we are ready to export. Say file, open, data, and then be sure to change the file type because it is Excel. Okay, choose Excel. And I saved it in PICEI 2021 under, this is a subfolder under speakership. You have different folder. And then I'll click on data management, then click open. And then be sure to select all, the matching worksheet. I see, it's not reflected. Data 2, the code, and data. Okay, I have to save this first. Let's save. Okay. It was not detected. There should have been the data here under sheet.
Data
Okay,
2 on data 2.
Yeah, data 2, but wala siya sa drop-down list because I've not saved it. Okay, and then data management, and then here. What happened then? I can only see code because I have manipulated that one in Excel, but what I did is I did not save it. That's why it does not show us a drop-down list of sheets. It just show us the code. So here you have to check read variable names under the first row of data. Okay, so we will click, for instance, data 2, then click OK. What will happen? It becomes a string type of data. And our intention is we don't, as much as possible, we do have majority of our variables should have been numerical data. What happened then? It's because we did not delete this part, this one, but still we have to do it that way because we have to paste it under values. So Control C, and then here comes another sheet, and then you have to paste it, but this time you have to transpose it. Okay, and then go back to data and then delete the longer description of the variable. Okay, then save. Again, we have to open another data. Let's close this one. Okay, file, then open data from Excel. Okay, and then let's choose data management, and then let's choose data 2, and then click OK. Oh, see, it becomes numeric. The only variable that's string is course, because the respondents were asked to specify, and there is no category. There is no category provided. Now this time, why is it that I let you write the longer description of the variable? It is here in the sheet 2, because we will just copy it, and then go back to your SPSS file, and then paste it here in the label. Wala, siguro na. Copy. Okay, I'll try again. But it has to be copied. It should be copied. I have done this 1,000 times with different projects and different analyses. So I'll try. Maybe you have pasted it already, but it should work. Paste. Okay, there. So it is easier for you rather than typing it again here. Now, let's go to values. Here in values, you have to declare your codes. So this time, so imagine if we have a big data handle, and for example, this is a team project, and then there is another set of encoder, encoder. There's another set of people who will manage this one to SPSS. So even if you are just given with this Excel file, you know what is 1 in sex, what is 0 in sex, because you have this code. So this is your code sheet. This will be your basis in filling up or filling out. I have to transfer this one so that you can see my. Okay, here in values. Okay, for instance, in the municipality, 1 for Antiquera. You just have to copy para madali. Copy 1 for Albuquerque. Control C and then paste and then add, and 2 for Antiquera. Okay, add and then okay. You have to do this in all of the categorical data, but just for the purposes of this training, let's just have sex and say marital status, values, and then 1 for 0 for male, add, and then 1 for female. Okay, click OK, and let's have marital status, for instance. 1 for single, and then 2 for married, and then 3 for widowed. Sorry, I forgot. It's easier if we just copy it. And then 4 is separated. 4 is separated. Okay. And click OK. Now for Likert type of questionnaire in which options are repeating, you just have to copy it. Say, for instance, 1 is for strongly disagree. says, I did not type, disagree. Sorry, this is strongly. And then 2 for disagree. 3 for neutral. And then 4 for agree, then 5 for strongly agree. If the options are repeating per variable, you just have to copy it so that you will not consume more time in doing so. Like this one, this can be copy, say copy, and then you will just highlight this and then paste. So that's it. So for example, you have 50 questions here, and with the same options like strongly agree, you just have to copy. You don't have to go to the normal coding or the assigning of values here. You just have to copy. Okay, and then you have to change the types of measurement here. So the questionnaire is number is a nominal type of variable. The municipality is a nominal type of variable. The barangay is a nominal type of variable, and so with sex. Age is a scale, and marital status is also nominal. Educational attainment, it can be, since the educational attainment has hierarchy, it can be ordinal. And then the course, it's nominal. That this one is ordinal. The Likert type of, no, this is nominal. The organization. But the Likert scale is ordinal, and then ordinal, and then ordinal. By the way, this one, the missing, for example, the third respondent find it sensitive to ask the sex, for instance. So he did not respond, for instance. For non-response, so that it would be recognized by SPSS as non-response and it will not affect to the computation, you may assign value. How to choose a value? It should be a value that is not within the range of a hypothetical value. I mean, not hypothetical value, but theoretical value. Say, sex. The theoretical value is just 0 and 1. So you may put 9,999 here, because it's impossible to have a sex with a value 9,999, because the options are just 0 and 1. Now, to declare it missing, you have to put it here under missing, discrete missing values. So that's 9,999. So every time the response is 9,999, that means that the respondent opts not to answer. Thus, it makes it a missing value. Okay? Okay, for instance, we want to get the sum of the level of satisfaction, right? Because, say, for instance, the level of satisfaction will be one of our predictor variable. You don't need to get the average. For example, you have imported that one in SPSS. And then when you had your discussion, we want to include in an analysis for a multiple regression for with level of satisfaction as your independent variable. And you need one summary metric for the 10 questions. Here there are 3 questions. You don't need to go back to Excel, because the moment that it is imported in SPSS and there are typological error, you don't need to go back to the Excel. You have to manage now in SPSS, so that it would not be very tiresome. It will entail time and effort if you will do it again. So you just have to edit your data in SPSS. One way to check is, for instance, no, I had typological error in sex. I had typed it, say, 9. Okay, so how to detect typological error when you are in SPSS already? You just have to run frequencies in all of the variables. Say all of the variables here. Then click OK. You would know that there are typological errors. I intend to have typological error in sex. See, there is 9. And based on your coding, there shouldn't be a 9 in sex, but you have 9 here. So you go back to your data file. Why is it that I have 9 here? So you go back to your data file and see. Okay, so imagine that you have 9,000 data file here, for instance. 9,000 observations, I mean. So it would be very hard for you to look, where is that 9? All you have to do is to sort it. Sort cases. Sort cases by sex. So that it would be easier for you to locate what observation, say for instance, this 9, say, it will be, if it's sorted and there are only 2 options, 1 and 2, for sure it will be in the bottom part, and it would be very hard for you. It would be easier for you, I mean, to locate where did you got wrong. That would be in questionnaire number 2. So imagine if this is 9,000 respondents. So it would be very hard for you to locate. Now, it is in questionnaire number 2. You will go to your questionnaire, the hard copy of your questionnaire, and check if it's really 9 or not, or is it missing, or what is really the sex of respondent number 2, because you don't just change it to 1 or 2. Here you have to go back to the questionnaire and check if what is really his or her sex. So that is the purpose why we put questionnaire number here. Okay, now going back, for example, we want to analyze multiple regression, and then we want a summary metric or summary statistics for the level of satisfaction. And we are now in the SPSS. You don't need to go back to Excel, because you just have to transform your variable. Say, you want the sum of the level of satisfaction. Okay, so you put here SLS and type and label, I mean, say sum level of satisfaction. Sorry, satisfaction. And then continue. Again, the target variable is the shorter version of your variable, and then the longer description. By the way, Mom, why is it that we need the longer and the shorter description? It's because under the variable name, medyo maselan si SPSS. Bawal sa kanya ang mga space, mga characters, and there is a limit on the number of characters in the variable name. That's why we need the shorter description of our variable, because we don't have the liberty to put space, to put illegal characters, to put as many letters there. I think it's just 8. I forgot the count, but definitely we need a shorter description here. Where do we have the liberty of expressing our variable completely? It's in the label here. That's why we need the longer description of variable under label. Why do we need to fill in the label? Because once the output is generated, the ones that will be reflected will be the longer description of our variable. Okay, so going back here, for example, we need a summary metric or summary statistics of our level of satisfaction. We just have to compute the sum, say click on statistical, then sum, click on arrow, and then you have to put inside the variables that we want to get the sum. Okay, and then LS3. Okay, now imagine if our label here, we don't put LS3. Imagine we don't put LS3 here. So what we can read is just cost of electricity, toilet is hygienic, house unit is. Sometimes when there are 20 items in your Likert type of questionnaire, when we are going to get summary statistics like this as another variable, it would be very hard for us to pick which of these variables are asking for level of satisfaction. That's why we need to be reminded at the leftmost part that, yeah, indeed, these are questions for levels of satisfaction. That's why I asked you to put, aside from the longer description, to put in the leftmost part or the start of the longer description, the shorter description of your variable. And then you have to click OK. Once once the variable is created, as you can see, there will be a 15th variable in which this variable is the sum of the level of satisfaction. Basically, what we did is to create another variable which is the summary statistics of LS1 to LS3. So you don't need to go back to the Excel file. You just have to manage it. Now, for instance, I want to code instead 0 for male and 1 for female, and then as you can see, this is already 0 for male and 1 for female, and I want to have a different code. So you may just you may just change it in the SPSS and not anymore in the Excel. So all you have to do is say recode it into the same variables. But me personally, I want to recode it into different variables so that when I want to go back to the original variable, I can still do so. Like this one, recode sex. No, say I want to name it as sex 2. That's why so I can recall that this is the recoded sex. Okay, for old and new values, say 0, it will become 1, no? And then add. And those with 1 will now become 0. Okay. And then continue. And then change. And then click OK. Now, if you are going to go back to your data file, there is sex 2. If you are going to view the data, the sex, those with sex 0 in here will have 1 here. But why is it that there are empty cells here? It's because we did not include 9,999 here. Supposed to be when we recoded it into different variables, say this one, we have to include also the 9,999 and then value 999, and then add and then continue, and then click OK. So that the missing values would not be left out. So here, for female, it should be 1, but for the recoded, it becomes 0. That tip will also be used when you are going to recode your age. Say, for instance, diba, your age is actual. Why is it that we ask for actual? Because it is an interval type of data. And when we are planning for a parametric test, we definitely need the interval type of data. But when we are to present the profile, we need to recode this into age group, in which in this technique, this is very helpful. Recode into different variables, say age, and then age 2, change. Old and new values, say for instance, for 10 to 20 years old, you have to code it as 1 here. I have to remove this first. Remove. Okay, for range, like for ages 10 to 20, say this is value 1, okay, and then for 21 to 30, say 21 to 30, that is 2. Add, so that you can profile them according to young or adult. Say young and adult lang. Go back to your SPSS, and then you already have a new variable here with age, and you are expecting 1 and 2 only in the age, because you have recoded it. For a certain range, you code it into 1. For a certain range, you code it into 2. And here in the values, say 1 is for young and 2 is for adult. So now your profile now would not be individual age. When I've shown to you the output in age here, age, so for each age there is frequency, but when you will be using the age group, what will reflect, say for instance, this is for profiling, say I will just put here 1 lang, 1, 2. So when you run analysis frequency here for age 2, Control A, then we just have to include age 2 and then click OK. Instead of an individual age having frequencies, you now have a frequency according to age group. Okay, so what did we do? From the actual raw age, we have transformed it, we have recoded it into other variable codes called H2 in such a way that they are categorized according to young or adult or and so on and so forth. Okay, I hope I have shared to you this. I hope you have learned from what I have shared to you. But before we are going to proceed with a sample data analysis on meta regression, I want to cater some questions before proceeding. Okay, we have here Noel Binavides. How about if we don't have the SPSS software, since it has to be purchased? Sir, I am using R Commander, sir. R is a free software. That's why I asked the organizer if the participants do have SPSS before this webinar, because if not, I can also share to you our software. I will teach you how to install. However, it's already 11:15. I will just share to you the material how to install it. But just for your appreciation, Sir Noel, you may use R Commander. Okay, sige. I will just show to you. Maybe we can have private separate engagement, Sir Noel. I'll teach you later, but not in this webinar. Okay, we only have 2 hours and I still have one more topic. I hope it's okay, Sir Noel. You may just contact me on FB. I'll give you materials on R and R software. But if we still have time today, I will show you just for appreciation how it will work. Is it okay if we could directly type the data in the SPSS since labels and other data needs to be encoded? You may do so, ma'am, but as what I've experienced, it's easier to manage data in Excel first and then export it in SPSS. But if you are, if you are comfortable with it, it's okay to directly encode it in SPSS. But based on my experience, I have handled big data with various projects. I find it easier to manage it in Excel. Ma'am, good morning. Would there be any basis of regrouping any ratio level, like what you did in age? Yes, ma'am. Actually, for my grouping, that is just hypothetical, no? From 10 to 20, it's young, and then 21 to it's adult. But the grouping has to have a basis. I usually base it on PSA. There is a website for PSA in which they have categorized the job, the educational attainment, and the age. So, and you may have another source, so you can base your grouping. Okay, I hope I have answered your question. Ma'am, can you share us your R command file? Of course, I'll give you everything. Okay, just for I'll show you appreciation for R. But this one is not R Commander. R Commander is the point and click version. But just for appreciation that R can still really work because R is free. This is the R file for our example this morning. The topic that I will be discussing next, that's multiple regression, but it can also run in SPSS, in R, like this. But if you are afraid of the codes and all, there is what we call R Commander. It's the point and click version here. There's another pop-out window in which you can do it parang SPSS like. Say for instance, I just real quick, no, I have to use data in the package or whatever is available here. Okay, and then here there is a wide range of functionality in statistics. You can do means here, and then click OK. See, okay. It's just like SPSS, the R Commander. However, it's free, it's versatile, and it is rapidly updating. That's why I oftenly use R Commander. But for this webinar, I was advised to use SPSS. So that's why I use SPSS. But I know even in my university, my students have, of course, a difficulty in acquiring SPSS because it's expensive. That's why I'm an advocate of R. Okay, so that's how R Commander works. Don't worry of these codes. If you want these codes also, I will share it to you. But there is also a point and click version in R. You just have to download the package R Commander. Okay, Sige, I will just entertain questions up to 11:30 because I will be discussing the metric regression pa. Okay, I can give you my R command file. Good morning. My study is for the data consolidation of each schools with how am I to label each schools and district. Yes, ma'am. You just have to code. You assign number for your schools and your districts, ma'am. So that it would be easier for you to sort, to filter out, to run analysis per district. Okay, next. Does not. What do you mean? What if grouping of data does not follow normal distribution? It's not the grouping that will follow normal distribution. No, it is the dependent variable per category. Okay. Will it be still valid for statistical test? Yes, it will still be valid even if it's not normal, but however, you are going to use non-parametric test and should not use parametric test. Okay. Okay. Is there any effect to the result in the SPSS? Okay. Is there any effect to the result in the SPSS if we incorrectly categorize the data? Let's say instead of nominal, we place the data as ordinal. It's okay if actually it's nominal, but you have coded it as ordinal. However, for instance, there are tests like multiple regression. The dependent variable has to be continuous, and then you classify it as nominal. The SPSS will not run because it has to be at least interval. But for instance, you have mislabeled it as a higher level of measurement and it's only nominal, it's okay. But the other way around, some analysis would not work. It does not have an effect of the result. However, there are analyses that won't work. Yes, Alvin, our Commander software can be downloaded free in online website. Yes, it is free. I will give you material. I am also an adjunct faculty of MSU, and later this evening, that is my topic. I have already prepared material, and part of the material is how to install. So I will give it to you, my material for my class. Okay, ma'am, what if my data does not manifest normality? I want to treat the data using what should I do? Why is it that we are forcing? Okay, this is the parametric tests are more powerful than non-parametric tests if it follows the assumption. If not, it's not powerful. Now, like for ANOVA, I have read literature that it becomes robust to normality. If you really want to have parametric tests, sir, you have to look for a, shall we say, a strong reference that will back up your decision to use parametric test. For instance, if you really want to use ANOVA and the distribution of data does not follow normality, you may look for a reference that would strongly back up that ANOVA is robust to non-normality. What do you mean by robust to non-normality? It means that the result is still good even if the data is not normally distributed. Okay, I have 6 minutes left for the Q&A for topic 1, and then for topic 2, I will be starting by 11:30. No more. Okay, I will be discussing the multiple regression. I will be sending the some files again to you, Cyril. Okay, but before that, I have to discuss preliminaries first for multiple regression. in the next slide, this is just FYI for SPSS, what it stands for, and when was it launched. But I will be discussing mainly multiple linear regression. It is used when we want to predict the value of the dependent variable based on the value of two or more independent variables. It's because most of the research will just settle on correlation. I don't belittle correlation, no, because it has a certain purpose. It has also a certain purpose. But if you want to diagnose or if you want to explain a certain variable, I call this inferred causality, because when we say real causality, it has to be experimented and then control the sources of bias. But when you do have this uncontrolled scenario, like just giving questionnaire and you want to infer causality, you may use multiple linear regression because you want to explain the dependent variable using this. You want to explain the dependent variables using two or more independent variables. You may use multiple regression in the following situations. For instance, a researcher in the field of math education wants to determine whether teacher variables, student variables, and school variables can explain student achievement. So the student achievement here is the dependent variable, and the independent variable is teacher variables, like the credential of the teacher. Student variables are like the IQ, the personality type, and the school variables can be what school, maybe the number of teachers, the number of or the level of accreditation that the school has qualified, or shall we say the size of the classroom, because when students are not congested in the room, it is hypothesized that they are more likely to learn. Okay, so something like that. And then the next one is, for example, a real estate agent might record for each listing the size of the house, the number of bedrooms, the average income in the respective neighborhood according to census data, and a subjective rating of appeal of the house, and see whether and how these measures relate to the price for which a house is sold. Say you want to explain why is it that the price of house in Alabang is different from the price in the houses in for example in Bohol. So you might as well explain these to the clients. For example, you are into the real estate business, so you want to model that particular phenomena. And for the assumptions of regression, again, very important. It's very important that you have to check the assumptions of every statistical test, or else you will arrive at a wrong conclusion because you assume different thing. I mean, the statistical test that you use assume different thing. Okay, so for the assumptions of multiple regressions, one, your dependent variable must be at least interval scale. So at least interval scale, interval, or ratio. Next is there must be two or more independent variables which can either be continuous or categorical. But it has to have at least one continuous. And then the relationship between the dependent and the independent variable is linear. You have to establish first the linearity of the relationship between the dependent and independent variable, or else if it doesn't have linear relationship, there's no point of running a multiple linear regression. And then number 4, predictors are not too highly correlated with each other. There is no multicollinearity. So what will happen if, diba, the correlation of a variable to itself is 1. So for example, if it's too highly correlated, like 0.98, it means it nearly measured the same thing. So the count, or shall we say, instead there will be a double count, because you are explaining a certain dependent variable by two independent variables that is just explaining the same thing. So it must have a certain degree of distinctness, but not also too distinct, because after all, there has to be a certain correlation also. Okay, and then predictors are, I have done this already. The values of the residuals are independent, because this is the assumption, diba? Error terms is normally distributed with variance sigma squared without a script, because it has to be independent also. And the next one is the residual is constant, or shall we say homoskedastic. The variance of the residual is constant, or the homoskedasticity assumption of the multiple linear regression. 7 is the values of the residuals are normally distributed. So the term is no serial correlation. And the test for that is Durbin-Watson. And then there are no influential cases biasing the model, so no outliers. So there are 8 basically. Now, what I am going to send to you now is an illustrative example of multiple linear regression. You can just easily access the LMAP2.sub in Google, because this is available online. Here, the task is to perform regression analysis by using academic performance of the school as the response variable. So our dependent variable here is the academic performance, and the independent variable is the class size in grade 4 to 6, because the grades 4 to 6 is the higher years. It means that when there are many students in grades 4 to 6, it means that the school is performing good, because there is no mobility, meaning no students transferred from their school to another school. Then the percentage of students receiving free meals, because this data is from California, and when you receive meals there, it's an indicator of poverty. So when you have receiving free meals, it means that you suffer from poverty. And this part hypothetical example, well, this is not just a hypothetical example. This is an actual data, and they really perform a survey for this. Now, when it's an indicator of a poverty, it means their hypothesis. They are hypothesizing that when you are poor and you don't have access to materials, school materials, or any or even nutrition, you have a hard time coping with your subjects in school. And then another is emergency credentials. This is also an indicator of whether a school is performing or not in California, because there are 2 types of credentials, teacher credentials there, full teacher credentials and emergency teacher credentials. The emergency teaching credentials will be given to teachers who have not yet fully acquired the qualifications for a regular item, but they will be given a temporary permit to teach for 1 year. So meaning to say, in the Philippine settings, these are like part-timers that have not yet acquired masteral degree in the Philippines. So meaning to say, if you have if the composition of the profile of the teachers are like this, meaning that's a demerit to the university or to the school, because their teachers are not that qualified. Now, percent of first-year students in schools, they are hypothesizing that when there are many first-year in the university, and there are more in first year than in the higher years, this is an indicator of mobility, meaning the students transferred from their school to another school, and the number of students enrolled as one of the predictors, because once there are many students enrolled, it is an indicator also. They are hypothesizing that their schools are performing good. Now, the data LMAP 2 comes from, again, the randomly sampled 400 elementary schools from California Department of Education, academic performance 2000 data set. I just got this from the internet. I have to share it to Cyril so that you can access this, and also with my material, how did we interpret this? There are also screenshots what to click in the SPSS. Okay, I have to share it to Cyril for a while. Okay. It is shared already, Cyril.
Yes, Doc, I received it.
Okay, with the 20-minute time available now, I will be directly, I was planning to teach you where to click, how to click, but I think you can manage that on your own, because as you can see in my material that I have shown to you, here, there is screenshot what to click, where to click, and then I will just focus on how to interpret it, because this is more, that is the meat of statistics. However, in the event that you have a hard time navigating your SPSS, you may contact me through my email and or through my phone. Okay? Here, as you can see, before proceeding to the multiple regression test, you have to check the assumption first. Next is the relationship between the dependent and the independent variable is linear. Now, there is a test in SPSS that is in analyze, compare means, and then means, and then you have to click in the dependent variable, the API 2000, and all the independent variables will be placed here. And then in the options, there is test for linearity. You have to check it there. If we still have time, we have only 20 minutes, but if we still have time, I will demonstrate it in this in the audio with you. But I would rather consume my 20 minutes in the explanation how to interpret it. So if the value of the sig dot deviation from linearity greater than 0.0 is greater than 0.05, then the relationship between the independent variable is linear. So what does it mean? If the p-value computed is greater than 0.05, then it is linear. Nga naman, why is it that it's like, sorry, minsan nabibisaya po kayo. Because why is it that it has to be greater than 0.05 and most of our test is lesser than 0.05? It's because our null hypothesis here is that the relationship between two variables is linear. So we need to accept. That's why we are praying for, if we pray for a parametric estimation of the linear equation, then we want it that the p-value under deviation from linearity is greater than 0.05. Here it is 0.403. So when we check the linearity of the dependent variable and the percent first year in school, the computed p-value under deviation from linearity is 0.403. Therefore, the relationship is linear. The same is true with percent free meals, 0.209. And the same with average class size of grades 4 to 6. Still, it's greater than 0.05. This one. So, meaning to say, we are all good to proceed because all the relationships are linear. And that is one of the assumptions. Now, there must be no multicollinearity as the assumption suggests. The test for that is variance inflation test. Here, where can we see the variance inflation test? Now, when we are going to analyze the compare means, the means here, this one, you just have to click no only ang deviation from linearity. I will just check percent meals because we only have few more minutes left. Then options and then test for linearity. Check that one, continue, and then click OK. It will automatically give you an output data for normality, for deviation from normality. It is here. This one, this is 0.579. However, if you want to test for multiple regression, you just have to go to regression, linear, and then the dependent variable will be placed here. The independent variables will be placed here. Where can we find that VIF? You just have to check collinearity diagnostics, descriptives, model fit, estimates, and Durbin-Watson. And when you click OK, it will give you the test on VIF. This one is the VIF. This one is the Durbin-Watson. Now, going back to my notes, here, this is the test for no multicollinearity. For no multicollinearity, the VIF has to lie between 1 to 10. So let's check. The VIF here is 1.3, 1.0, 1.072, 1.339, 1.254, meaning all our data qualifies for no multicollinearity assumption. And then the values of the residuals are independent. So no serial correlation. The test for that is the Durbin-Watson, the one that we click. As a general rule of thumb, the residuals are uncorrelated when the Durbin-Watson statistics is approximately 2. Values below 1 and above 3 are cause of concerns. So here, the Durbin-Watson is 1.428. Therefore, it lies within the acceptable rule of the acceptable value or the rule of thumb. The next assumption is the variance of the residual is constant, or the homoscedasticity assumption of multiple regression. This is the problem because in R there is a Bruch-Pagan test. But in SPSS, I don't know with the latest version, but I cannot find a formal test for homoscedasticity. That's why we just settle with regression standardized predicted value. How to interpret it? The scatter plot of the residual should look like you shot it out of a shotgun. It does not have an obvious pattern, so there are points equally distributed above and below 0 on the x-axis and to the left and right of 0 and y-axis. So here, we cannot see patterns, so it satisfies the homoscedasticity. But however, this is not a formal test of homoscedasticity. I will show you one from R later. Still have time. I have already coded it in case we still have more time. And the values of the residuals are normally distributed. We need the PP plot. There is also a formal test for this in R, but I could not find here in SPSS. I don't know with the latest version, but the points here has to be closed near this line for it to be normally distributed. And I can see too much departure that makes our data qualified for a multiple regression, and there are no influential cases biasing the model. Let's see. We need a Cook's distance for this. When you run for multiple regression, there is save there. You have to click, and then you have to click Cook's distance. And then when we run for the residual statistics, here, when we continue and then click OK, the minimum Cook's distance is 0, and the maximum is 0.056. So walang lumampas sa 1. Any values over 1 are likely to be significant outliers. This should be removed and rerun the analysis. This should be removed only after you have examined whether that value is not typologically or not mistyped or not miscoded. Now, we are now in the interpretation. So what is R squared? What is adjusted R squared? You will use adjusted R squared if it has different units. But if it's the same units or unitless, in this case, this is unitless, you may just use R squared. What does it mean? It gives us how many percent of the variance in our dependent variable is explained by the model. Here, it's 83.3 for the adjusted R square, but if we will just settle on R square, that is 83.5%. Now, we will not interpret further if our ANOVA is not significant. What is meant by a significant ANOVA here? It would tell us whether the model significantly explains our dependent variable. Since the p-value here is less than 0.05 here, this one, then there is enough evidence to support that the regression coefficient is not equal to 0. So if the regression coefficient is not equal to 0, meaning each of the independent variable has indeed contribution to our dependent variable. And this is now the test. If it is lesser than 0.05, meaning our model is significant. Now that our model as a whole is significant, we may look into the individual independent variable that has contributed to, or that has explained our dependent variable. Now we are going to look at the sig here. This is the p-value, and it has to be lesser than 0.05 for us to conclude that there is a significant contribution of the independent variable. As you can see, all are significant predictors except for percent first year in school because it's 0.089. Meaning to say, all except the percent year in first year in school explains significantly our dependent variable, which is the school performance. So usually, when we are going to present it in the research, we don't just copy this one. We have to make another table. However, below the table, you have to put the model. This time, we are going to place the unstandardized coefficient. Now, what is the difference between unstandardized beta and standardized beta? When will we use unstandardized and when shall we use standardized? We will be using standardized coefficients if our data has different unit. But if it's unitless or of the same unit, like all kilograms, all centimeters, all in pesos or so, you may use unstandardized. But in this, I think most of our data is unitless. It's in terms of numbers, percentage. So we will use unstandardized coefficient. So in the final model, the percent first year in school will not be included because it's not a significant predictor. All we can see here is the percent free meals, average class size, percent emergency credentials, and number of students. Okay. It makes sense though, because by the way, the number of students here, I forgot. The number of students is not not enrolled in the university, but enrolled in currently transferred in other university, in other school, or in another institution. That's why it's negative here. I also, because this is an actual data, I tried to explain if whether our result makes sense. Now, in percent free meals, it is negative, right? What is meant by negative? The increase of for every point, for every unit increase in percent free meals, there is a decrease of 3.16 in our school performance. Meaning, what does it mean? That when there are many poor students in the school, it tends to it tends to bring down the school performance. That's why it's negative. Also with the average, but with the average class size, diba? The average class size for higher years, meaning there are more students in higher years. They are not mobile, meaning the school is performing good because they have retained a number of students in the higher years. But for percent emergency credential, the higher the number of teachers with just emergency credential, the lower the performance of the school. For every point increase in the number of teachers with just emergency credential, there is a 1.3 decrease in the school performance. So imagine that. So we definitely need teachers that are good and credentials or qualified teachers, not just giving them a leeway for teaching and waiting for them to be qualified soon, because it has affected the performance of the school. And so I have also here crafted a sample write-up on how to present our analysis or findings using multiple regression. I put it here to predict the academic performance. Of course, I have just written this this write-up like a while ago before we started, because in the last minute of this webinar, I have decided that I have to put a sample interpretation in a technical way, in such a way that it is written by a researcher. So, but this is just an example. You may improve this one when we have more time. So I've written here to predict the academic performance of the school. The researchers conducted a multiple regression with average class size in grades 4 to 6. Percentage of students receiving free meals, percentage of teachers, percent of first year schools, and as explanatory variables. As shown, there is a significant regression equation. I have here the F value, which you can find in the ANOVA table, and this is the degrees of freedom, and the P value that would that is an evidence that our model is significant, that indeed our independent variables explain our, at least one of the independent variables explain our dependent variable. And our R squared, how much of the model explains our dependent variable, that is the R squared. The findings entail that, entail that the model explains more than 80% of the school's academic performance. The result revealed all predictor variables except percent of first-year students in schools are significant at alpha level 0.05. So this is how we are going to interpret our, this is just first level interpretation, but when we do have our real research, we have to back this up with more implication and more literature that supports or might contradict our findings. Okay, it's already 11:55. Statistics really cannot be explained in just 2 hours. I was rushing things out just to discuss the gist of multiple regression. I hope that with the 2 hours I have shared you a worthwhile journey of statistics in research, specifically in the data management and here. Okay, I will, with the 4 minutes left, I am open for questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ivy. The inputs and talk actually are very great. Thank you so much.
I think I have one more question from the science and math department. What if one of the conditions in conducting multiple linear regressions was not satisfied? What alternatives should we do in order to proceed in the conduct of the certain study? Okay, there are many references that would suggest that we are going to transform our variables, but I'm not so much into it because I strongly believe in the invariance property of statistics of our data. What does invariance property mean? Even if you transform the data, still it follows distribution. So my take on this is to use the non-parametric way of estimating our multiple regression. One way, Cyril, can I just share real quick of how to do it in SPSS, the bootstrap multiple regression? Okay, the bootstrap multiple regression can be found here. No, not bootstrap multiple regression. Bootstrap regression. That is the non-parametric way of estimating the regression. You may just, and then bootstrap, click bootstrap, perform bootstrapping, like for example, 3,000 times, and then you set seed. Why is it that? Because bootstrapping is a sampling technique, no? You need a seed so that every time you run this, it will give you the same result. Say the date for today, that's 9/25. That is your set, that is your seed number, or maybe you can use your birthday, and then click OK. Ayaw niya sa 3,000 kasi masyadong marami. But anyway, you can use this technique, linear regression, say bootstrap for only 1,000. Okay, continue. PC. So meron na siyang answer. May na-produce na siyang output. Okay, but if it does not still work, there is also, I will be giving you this one, this code from line 36 to line 43. That's the bootstrap regression. I will also share you the results of this script. If it will not work in SPSS, then it might work here. Okay, I hope the 1 minute is not enough, but there is a way. It's called bootstrap regression. Okay.
Thanks for that, Dr. Ivy. I have noticed here, Doc, earlier, I guess another participant or other participants have asked about this. Please correct me if I'm wrong. How about this JASP and Jamovi, the Advisor for Education Analysis?
Huh?
JASP and JAMOVI. I guess you know how to read this one, honestly. JASP and Jamovi. The question earlier, Doc, before the link.
How about JSP and what is meant by JASP and Jamovi? Can you elaborate more?
Sir Marvin, Doc, it was him who asked about this. May we call on Sir Marvin to please open the mic and ask it directly? Okay.
I still have to search about it. I have come across because when you are even when you are a doctor of philosophy and statistics, you are not familiar with all the statistical tests in the literature because there are too many. Even if you are a graduate of, say, a bachelor's degree in statistics, there is a track that you are going to follow in which I am more into regression, multivariate analysis. But if there are open software, it's not a statistical method, but it's a software. Okay, I have not yet used that one, but after this webinar, I'll try to explore. But definitely, if that works for you, then it's fine. Sometimes we start with Excel, but however, for publication, they ask for a higher software like R, right? But if we will be using SPSS when we are about to publish our paper, they will be asking for our license. That's why I'm using R. Okay. I'll have to explore on that, sir. I can't answer you yet because I'm into SPSS, I'm into SAS, and I'm into Stata. I'm into eViews, but not on JSP yet. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ivy. And thank you also to Sir Marvin for clearing the path. I have checked the slido.com. No questions were posted so far. So thank you so much. Yeah, you're correct, Dr. Ivy, that even if you hold a doctorate degree, it's not a guarantee that you know everything in your field. So that's why attending a webinars or conferences like this is one way to keep ourselves updated with the current trends and emerging approaches in the field of research, especially because we all know that research is a very dynamic, it's a very liquid discipline. So we need to keep on updating so that we will not be left behind with the emerging trends and approaches. Thank you so much, Dr. Ivy. Your talk and actual demonstration and data management are it's like a crash course for us, especially especially me personally, who took the research unit a long time ago. I guess it's 2018 when I taught the subjects in the doctoral level. So it is also a refresher for me personally. So we hope that our participants have learned a lot from your talk, Dr. Ivy. Thank you also for the generosity for sharing your resources so that our dear participants can follow up by reviewing the resources you have shared. So as our way of appreciating your valuable inputs and expertise shared to our dear participants this morning, please allow us, Dr. Ivy, to present to you our certificate of appreciation as our token. So the certificate says, PIC 21, or Philippine Institute of 21st Century Educators, awards the certificate of recognition to Dr. Ivy Corazon A. Mangayaay. So I have to make it bigger. For imparting her invaluable time, resources, and expertise as a resource person on the topic statistical data handling, data management, to data analysis during the conduct of National WorkCon for the 21st Century Researchers and Educators with the theme Digitalization and Research and Education, Leveraging the Emerging Trends in Data Management. Accorded this 25th day of September 2021 via Zoom video conferencing and live stream on Tommy YouTube channel and 5i21 Facebook page. Signed, Vicky A. Cabinco, MEd LPT, Virtual Conference Director, and Emijan P. and Danila Palmani, MEd LPT, National President of I21. Congratulations and thank you, Dr. Ivy Corazon A. Mangayaay. A virtual clap, please. Now, we would like to request everyone. Yes, Dr. Ivy?
I was about to say thank you also for inviting me.
Yes, Dr. Ivy. It's our pleasure. Thank you so much. Dr. Ivy, sorry, before we have the photo opportunity, do you have any concluding remarks for our dear participants?
I wish to have a webinar with you with a longer time, so we won't rush things out. But I do understand that the objective of this webinar is just a good start, a quick course, so you would know that there indeed exists something like this. And then in statistics and in research, it's good to work hard. But aside from working hard, sometimes we need the techniques so we can work smartly. I'm touched with the recent Netflix series is on Squid Game, right? The take home message for that is don't just work hard, work smart also. And we also need to give passion to what we are doing without necessarily stepping on others, right? So in this connection with my lecture today, instead of rushing things like going directly to the analysis, we have to think, how do we structure in our data in such a way that it would be easier for SPSS to run? Because, like, for instance, if we wish to analyze paired t-test and we structured our data in such a way that it is listed all in one column and there is a separate for one grouping, it will not work. There has to be one column for one group and other column for the other group, different for independent t-test. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ivy. Positive feedbacks or remarks coming from our participants are actually raining in our chat box. So thank you so much, our dear participants. So before we go, please, may we request everyone to please open your camera so that we can have the photo opportunity. Let's open the technical team, please.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. So we have two panels in our room. So just for a moment. So panel one, so ready, 1, 2, 3, and smile. Okay, just keep smiling. So for the last panel, 1, 2, 3, and smile. Okay, so thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, technical team. May we remind also everyone to, thank you, don't forget to fill in the evaluation link so that you can have your e-certificate. Our technical team will just post it in the chat box, and I believe the evaluation links are also sent to you in your email.
Okay, I will be also typing in the chat box my email. I forgot to reflect it in my PowerPoint and my cell phone number also. Would that be all right?
Yes, that's our ID. It's okay.
Yes, Doc. Thank you so much po.
I will be sharing to you those who need my R file. I'll script everything from sampling to regression to reliability testing. What else do you want? I'll give it all to you. because I really want that the whole world will know about statistics.
Yes, Dr. Ivy, we thank your generosity. Thank you so much. So we invite everyone to please join us again this afternoon for the fourth topic of this work conference. And this afternoon, we will talk on the publication or publishing on index journal.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, as what you have observed also, all my files are in PowerPoint. It's editable. It's in Word. It is also editable, so that you can use that one in your classes also. I'm giving you the liberty to use my slides. Okay.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye
Bye,
po.
everyone. See you again this afternoon.